In tonight's cover story, military veterans receive a number of benefits following their time of service. This all includes things like money for education and home loans.
Well, one Sacramento veteran says that he was recently denied a VA home loan, and he says it's the result of simply being gay. I spoke with him about his story.
My name's Alejandro Brambila. I am a elementary school teacher. I teach 4th grade ELA.
Brambila entered the military at the age of 19.
I was in the Coast Guard. I served in South Carolina, and I was on the Coast Guard cutter Dallas. I was very religious and had a girlfriend, and so at the time I really did not think that I was gay. I knew something was abnormal, and I remember praying about not wanting to be gay.
He says slowly, though, he began to figure it out.
I think a little bit more learning about myself, becoming a little bit more flamboyant and comfortable, and so eventually I told that I was gay.
And this was Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
It was, yeah.
Don't Ask, Don't Tell was a federal policy adopted in 1994 that banned openly homosexuals and bisexuals from serving in the military. Brambila was discharged from the military after 9 months of service.
But I was separated honorably. On my discharge paper, it says homosexual admission.
Don't Ask, Don't Tell was eliminated in 2011. Fast forward to January 2022, when Brambila says he found his dream home in Sacramento. It was exactly what he wanted. He just needed his home loan, which he assumed he'd get through the VA.
So after speaking to a specific firm, I gave them my DD-214s, which has honorable discharge. It shows the reason why I was separated, everything on there. They immediately assumed that I would qualify, as I did, because I received my GI Bill.
However, at the time of the appraisal, he received a letter from the VA saying they needed more information.
And so I called the VA and I asked them what information they needed, and they said they needed one extra form that tells them my narrative reason for separation. And I shared with them, well, okay, it says homosexual admission. They said I don't qualify, and the guy literally hung up at the VA office.
You said it felt like you were being discriminated against all over again.
Yeah, and I think, well, what it did is it brought me back to the time that I was in 2009. I was 19, I was still young, I was exploring the world, and immediately I was told that something was wrong with me.
According to the VA's website, veterans normally need 2 years of service to qualify, or less if discharged for certain reasons.
If you're discharged with a certain narrative reason for separation, you qualify. Homosexual admission is not there yet. What I'm fighting for is for it to be there, for them to recognize that that is a reason why they should receive their benefits for being, discriminated upon while in the military.
Brambila says the people who were discharged prior to the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell have been forgotten about. About 14,000 service members in total were discharged because of that policy. He says now, even people at the VA are encouraging him to fight.
I talked to this woman today to give me a new denial letter. And so she said, you need to fight this issue. And she literally said, you need to take this up with your congressperson. She said, because people have not screamed loud enough for this to be overturned.
So that's what Brambila is doing. He says it's his students that keep him going.
And I told them what was happening, and then the whole conversation ended up in the classroom turning to civil rights. And if I shut down in that moment and said I'm done, then it would have been me not being an actual advocate for what I believe in.
Now, we reached out to the VA for comment, but we did not receive one yet. The good news is Alejandro says that another veteran at Mortgage Right was able to get him an FHA home loan to save his home. And through it though it was a more expensive home loan. Alejandro just received the keys to his home yesterday, but he says he's not giving up his fight.